Hi, and welcome back to another video brought to you by picoCTF and the NSA Gen Cyber Program, as well as Carnegie Mellon University. And this video will focus on what I've dubbed Breaking and Entering, an introduction to cybersecurity utilizing the lovely picoCTF platform. So let's start off. What is cybersecurity? And even before we get into that, what is physical security? It's very hard to understand the cyber aspect if we don't even know what the physical piece of it is. So even just thinking about something like physical security, we can take a step back and try to define what that is for us. So why do we do something like lock our doors? Have you ever really asked yourself this question? Like, it seems like a very common sense thing, but at one point in time, people legitimately did not lock their doors because they had no real reason to. But now we lock our doors, whether it be out of habit, whether it be out of you genuinely wanting to protect your items, whether it be because your parents gave you a key and told you you need to lock the door every time you leave the house or every time they leave the house. The purpose of this is to protect from invaders, to protect your belongings, your devices, the things that you care about. And then we think, like, what do these locks look like? What are the actual barriers to entry? What keeps something inside of a lock protected? Typically, it's a physical lock and keys that are on doors. Um, these days, we have things like keypads and scanners that may or may not let you in. But if we're going brick and mortar, it is probably a lock and a physical key. Now, these can even be nested. So you have the lock that's on your door. Potentially, you may have a lock on your bedroom door or on your bathroom door. And even inside of that, you could have a safe inside of the locked home and the locked room that has more locked items into it. So this is just showing you can protect things. You have multiple levels of protection every time. But how does this translate into something like cyberspace? So now we can actually get into what is cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is essentially how we protect our digital stuff. So we use physical security to protect our physical stuff, right? We lock our doors because we don't want people getting our stuff, or even like our bedroom doors because we don't want people walking in there when we want privacy, or the bathroom door because you don't want people busting in when you're using the bathroom. So we lock to protect, like, cybersecurity is the lock for our digital things. Like, so this counts as like devices like computers and phones, and all of the information stored on these devices. So when we think about that, we also think about how, just like in our homes, the physical security can be nested. The cyber security can also be nested. So now we can think about things like passwords. Passwords are basically the digital equivalent of putting a lock on your door. It's used to prevent unwanted people from gaining access to the digital stuff that we want to protect. So now you think about, how many passwords do you actually have and what they even mean? Because, like, you have, even if you don't realize it, you have several nested passwords that you use, just like you have several nested physical security things that you do. Because you have I'm assuming typically you have a password on your phone or on your computer, and then you have a password on your social media accounts, and you have a password that logs you into this account and that logs you into that account, and then you could have a password that locks up your entire browser. You just have passwords all over the place, and it's like you could be very overloaded with all of your passwords. But we use strong passwords to protect what we need to. And this means that you are not supposed to be sharing your password with anyone. And if possible, you should not be writing them down or reusing them. And password protection, as I've kind of stated, passwords are our first line of defense, but they are not infallible. They are not unbreakable. Passwords are not the end all be all of everything. They are actually the most attacked thing. They are potentially the weakest point, one of the weakest points in security, um, because you are depending heavily on humans. There's a lot of research that goes into that. We will not get into that in this video. But they're susceptible to things like brute force attacks, dictionary attacks, and key logging, as well as a host of other potential attacks for something like a password. A brute force attack is basically somebody guessing at random. Sometimes this is a very rough high level overview, like randomly guessing what a password is, just entering different things until you get it right. A dictionary attack is a more thought out version of a brute force attack. So you're using an actual like list of passwords and a dictionary to choose from to actually input. And then key logging is when somebody installs malware on your actual device. Malware is um, sorry. Malware is basically like a virus that someone puts on that's like watching you and everything that you type. And so they basically wait until you need to log onto a site or potentially even prompt you to log onto a site. And then they copy exactly what it is that you type in as your password. And then now they have access to your site. So these can be mitigated by a few different things. Two pretty common ones are two-factor authentication, that which I know it annoys everybody to do two-factor authentication, but 2FA is pretty decent security wise because now you have multiple avenues of attack, you're widening the attack space. It's like you're making things better because now not only do you have to know the password, you have to have this other secret thing that makes it harder for someone. So it's like if this was a physical situation, if you had a key but also had facial scanning on your door, so it's like you need the physical key and then they need to scan your face until you get in. Now is it not significantly harder for somebody to break into your house? It makes it very much harder. And another way that you can mitigate this is by actually using strong passwords, using password generators and managers if possible. This also goes back to what I said on the previous slide of do not share your passwords or write them down if you can help it. If you can help it, never ever share a password. So let's go ahead and get into some picoCTF practice problems. Woo, woo. We're getting into the exciting things now. So let's go ahead and go to our Pico practice problems. And we are going to focus on the general skills category. Now, when I navigated here, I'm already logged in to the site. I've already created my profile. If you need help with creating the profile, all you need to do is when you first get to picoCTF, it'll take you to a page such as this. When you scroll through these tops, we see a get started and a sign up. You can click sign up. Since I'm already signed up and signed in, it takes me to this page, but it would take you to the sign up page and you were able to create an account that way. There's also a video available that we can link in the description that'll show you exactly what you can do to create your profile. So for this one, we're going to focus on, we see a lot of different things, but now we have these lovely password crack problems. So let's go ahead and dive in. PW is password. So let's see, can we crack the password to get the flag? Download the password checker here and you will need the encrypted flag in the same directory too. Our hints are to view the file in the web shell, do nano level1.py. So whenever we see these in the hints, the $ represents a terminal. So it's everything after the $ that you're going to need to copy and paste. So we can go ahead and take that and copy it. I am going to store it somewhere else. This is not a step that is necessary for everyone. This is only because of how I'm having to record this video. Our second hint is to exit Nano. You need to press Control X and follow the on-screen prompts. Okay. The third one, strxr function does not need to be reverse engineered for this challenge. So they're telling you when they say it does not need to be reverse engineered, they're saying do not make your life harder than it has to be by doing things that you don't have to. So let's go ahead and utilize our web shell. So we're going to click on the button, open up the web shell. You type in, not tired, I'm sleepy. Sleepy Panda 1. Type in your username and your password. And now you're in. If you do not see the password, that is by design. You are not, we just got through talking about the importance of not sharing passwords. You do not need to see any passwords on a video or when you're logging in. You should already know what your password is. So now we see that we are now logged in. We could do something like ls, and we see that there is a readme.txt. That is not what we are focused on right now. So now if we click on this is still our password cracker. We can copy this link. We can also open it in a new tab and see what happens. We see that they wouldn't let me download it because I have a security checker. So how do we get this in the case of, and this is also a very common scenario, if you are working on a school laptop, then it will probably not let you download a lot of different things in that way, which is why the shell is very, very useful. So now, in order to get this, we can wget, which is webgit, I think, or something like that. And then we paste, and now you hit enter, and you've now downloaded level1.py. So now that we've downloaded this, it says that we need to get the encrypted flag. So we can copy that link as well. You guess the song? And so now we have both things downloaded into our shell. And then you're like, okay, well, how do we actually see what we've downloaded? So this is where we get into some nice shell foo. So we can ls, and it will show us exactly what is here. So we see we have our readme.txt, our level1.flag.txt.encoding, and our level1.py. So what if we want to view these things? So as we saw in our hints, to view the file in the web shell, do nano level1.py. So we can copy that from earlier, or we can just type nano lev, and when you hit tab, it's going to try to autocomplete. So since we have two files with the same start, now you have to type in the next thing, and you can tab again and it'll autofill it. So we see, as I said, this function will not help you find the flag, so they're not trying to make you reverse engineer anything in code. So you open this, please enter the correct password, and then lo and behold, what do we see? If user password equals 691D, welcome back, your flag user. And then it decrypts the flag. So there probably is a way that you could solve this by decrypting all of this stuff, and it will be significantly more complicated. That's not what they really want you to do. What they really want you to do is pay attention to this function, and you can see that this is the password that has to be entered to get the correct flag no matter what. So you don't have to reverse engineer anything. When we step through this code, you're probably like, if I don't have any Python background, how am I supposed to even know what this means? Luckily, Python is pretty intuitive, but if you did not know what was going on or what was happening, you could come up here to the Learn tab and go to the Pico primer, which I'm going to open in a new tab so we don't lose any of our progress here and have to restart. And you see that there are different tutorials on how to utilize Python. So you can see that they have things like for loops, and this is if you have no programming background, this Python primer is really, really good to utilize. But also, it's pretty common. I don't want to say common sense, but it's pretty intuitive and straightforward when you see, please enter the correct password, and you see something that looks like a password. So now we can Control X and we exited our nano. So now we can run our level level 1.py, and we see that we can enter the correct password. If we just put some random things, it says the password is incorrect. If we go back up and we nano, we can see the password that we need to input, copy, let's exit nano. And also this Python that I just ran, this is just how you run a basic Python script. So that, enter your correct password, we're going to paste, enter, and now we have the flag, which we can highlight and right click and copy, not cut, copy. And we can paste it in and submit the flag. So now let's go ahead and do the second password crack problem. So it's very, very similar. We see, can you crack the password? Get your password checker and your encrypted flag. Does the encoding look familiar? Also, still don't need to reverse engineer anything. So we're going to do the same thing that we did. Now I'm going to do something a little different here. We're going to make a directory and we're going to name it password crack 2. This is just to separate our problems because or else we'll be downloading everything into the same directory and that can get confusing. So now we can ls, we can cd, which is go into the directory of password crack 2. We're going to wget the necessary files, so our password checker and our encrypted flag. Now, going back to what we did before. Oh no! Ignore everything that you saw there. But now we can do something very similar to what we did before. We're going to ls and then nano level 2.py. Okay, we see the function that we do not need to reverse engineer. A flag encoding, we see something being opened, but also like before, please enter the correct password for the flag. So we have user password equals CHRX33 plus CHRX39 plus CHRX63. And you're like, what does this mean? So let's go ahead and copy that line. So we see that something is happening. What these are ASCII characters. We know this because of how they are demonstrated here. So we can do you can literally search ASCII text and text to ASCII generator. So say if we you type something. Oh, we don't want to make ASCII art. Sorry, guys. We want to do ASCII to text. So we can convert ASCII code into text, paste what we did. Boop, boop. Get rid of the CHRs and the pluses because we just need these. Convert. And we get question mark, question mark, question mark. So you can also get rid of the 0x's. And we see something that looks like gibberish. So that's not particularly helpful. What we can do is do something similar to what we were attempting to do with Google online within the terminal. So we can type Python, and this will open up our Python interpreter. And then we could type print, open parentheses, paste the line we just copied, close parentheses. And now we see that this has done the conversion for us. We can copy this, exit our Python interpreter with exit, open and close parentheses, and then we can run Python level 2.py and paste the flag that we just got. And we see now we have our flag to copy and to paste. Submit our flag, and we have earned 100 points. Now it looks like we have come up to the end of our time together, as unfortunate as that may be. But we have learned a lot of things today. We have learned exactly what cybersecurity is. We've learned about the importance of good passwords. We've got to walk through some password cracking problems and think about how we can crack passwords using simple methods and how a lot of time passwords can be visible and utilized. Our next steps are to move on to further password cracking problems, to learn about hashing and passwords, and to get some web or to even get into some web exploitation and do things like the web exploit problems log in and log on, with which both focus on passwords. That's all I have for you today, and I hope to see you next time.